Okay, I think this is working. So, I recorded a couple of videos earlier and they both desynced, so the audio just drifted away from the video and it was mad. So just deleted both of those. It's fine, using different software now. Hopefully this will work. So, this is just a very quick video, just to sort of say where I am at the moment, from New Age to spirituality, and it's a wonderful place to be in. I'm in my infancy as far as Christianity goes, but I just wanted to sort of add my voice for the time being and just see how this goes and, you know, update videos if necessary. So, I guess it started 15 odd years ago. I had a sort of spiritual wake up, which wasn't through anything I did, it just sort of happened to me. Just reading various books. It just began with Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God series, and I felt like I had this epiphany, because I'd always held Christianity as being a sort of you know, really dodgy religion that I couldn't quite understand. It seemed very scary, very inaccessible, very scary, all about the sort of patriarchy, fear-based, something I couldn't understand or get my head around. So I was like, running away, running away, run away! Yeah, that's kind of how it was. So I went all around the houses in my quest, because my quest started spiritually. I'd always been, or classed myself as spiritual, not religious. When I was younger, I didn't really think about it very much at all. And then, yeah, perhaps in my 20s, more in my 30s, I guess, that was when this all began, and I went on this quest. And I went down various rabbit holes, and I won't sort of go into what they all mean, because anyone watching this video who's come from the New Age will know what sort of various New Age modalities there are and what they mean and things like this. But I tried all sorts of things. You know, it was like a smorgasbord, and it was an experiment, and it was interesting, and I thought all roads led to the same God. And it was a quest for connection and a quest for being spiritual, you know. So I went to all sorts of things. Gong baths, sound baths, you know. I got into meditation, Buddhist meditation. I went to my local Buddhist group once a week and I meditated, and it led to some interesting experiences. I remember once, you know, I only did it once a week for sort of 20 minutes once a week, but I got to a place just through that where I sort of realised that my personality was a sort of construct, and I didn't necessarily have to wear this construct if I didn't want to, which is quite interesting. So, you know, all sorts of sort of rabbit holes. I think I sort of concluded that actually I did want to sort of stay with that. But there was a sense of the path was a hell of a lot deeper, and if I had stayed on that path, I could have gone into this place of decoupling from my personality and things like this, which I now kind of think of as a kind of, I don't know, potentially dodgy, disassociative thing. You know, we're in this earth, we have these personalities, and you know, I kind of thought of it as like hacking the system sort of thing. But I think these personalities are a gift. They're a gift to us, and in turn maybe we can use that gift to brighten somebody else's lives up. And that's important. If we pull back completely and just cut off and go, fine, don't need my personality, actually it's fine, I'm meditating, pff, don't need it at all, this is my spiritual path, baby, then I don't know, that doesn't feel right, you know, actually at all, does it? It feels like a very, well, self-centered path in a way, because you're just, you know, I remember thinking at the time, we'll just feeling at the time that there was almost this sense of urgency that if I didn't hunker down a bit and just continue on that path, that I would actually put my spiritual learning back. And now I look at it completely differently. Now I think, actually, you know, we are in this earth and of this earth, and, you know, having some form of communion with something bigger than us is really important. But I don't see the answer as pulling back completely. And for some people, they might need to. You know, there's a lady who meditated in a cave for 10 years. You know, clearly that was what she felt she needed to do. But for me, I just think there's a hell of a lot of disassociation in the New Age. There's a hell of a lot of problems in the New Age. There's a book by Byron Katie which has been referenced lately by, there's a chap called Jeff Brown who I really like because he has a view of grounded spirituality, which is really cool. No nonsense, no mucking around, you know. And he referenced this book that she did where it seemed like it was a hell of a lot of disassociation. Like if things get too heavy and too hairy and too difficult, you know, her response to that seemed to be, you know, pull away completely. And sort of her response was, it's all good. Everything is all good. It's all fine. You know. And who knows, maybe that was a response she needed to do. It was like a sort of extreme crisis response. But I don't think it's a healthy state to stay in. I don't think it's a healthy state to go to in the first instance. But that's me. So anyway, I'm meandering a bit, and I knew I would. But at the time it all seemed good. You know, I went to, sort of immersion therapy, you know, in these tanks of water. I forgot what it's called now. Flotation tanks. And you'd literally go in and, you know, the case would shut over you and you'd lie there and float for about 20 minutes or half an hour or something. Or maybe a bit longer. And you could choose to have music playing or whatever. And in a way that was almost like another type of meditation, because I drifted off somewhere in one of these sessions and I wasn't, you know, I don't know where I went to exactly, but it felt another method, if you like, you know, along with meditation and various other tools as well. And then I tried plant medicine. I don't know what it was that I took. I went a couple of occasions. One time it was ayahuasca, but I did such a very baby dose. I could feel myself sort of getting pulled under, but I was too scared. I was like, I'm not ready, no, you know. And then there was another time, the first time, and I don't know what it was that I took, but it was amazing because at the time it felt blissful. So it felt like this oneness, bliss, everything that Buddhism seemed to talk about. It felt like my ego just sort of unzipped and I just merged. And I thought, oh, that's it, it's the answer. Great, that just backs up everything I've read. Super. I mean, I wasn't this matter of fact about it at the time. I was crying and crying and crying with happiness because I thought, wow, this is it, this is the answer. And that really sort of informed the next 4 or 5 years of my life because I was so confident. I say confident, I was just so happy that I thought, yeah, that's the answer. It's backed up, books I've read about oneness, Buddhist idea of all is one, etc. Great. Job done. But it wasn't job done, you know. Journeys change and things shift, and I found myself a few years later having tried all sorts of other things as well, you know. I would say at this juncture, because I posted something online as well tonight. I posted something in Facebook to my friends just to say, just let you all know, because I friended a few people who were also sort of a bit new age, bit in the same sort of spiritual, fluffy, nebulous, fun place that I was in. So I thought it's almost like coming out of the closet, isn't it? It's like if I'm going to do a radical change to something that they're probably going to have resistance to because I did, then it seemed only fair to just sort of put out a very quick note. I didn't put out a great big long spiel. I normally do. I'm really long-winded, but I didn't do that. I just put out a very quick note to say, just finding myself drawn more and more towards Jesus these days. And that was kind of it. And just to sort of let them know, if they've got problems with it, then they're warned. They can like block, delete, unfollow, you know. So I don't know where I was going with that actually. I think yeah, I've got no idea. Maybe it'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, so for me, I was trying all these things, thought I had all the answers that I needed, and then a few years later a couple of different things happened. So firstly, I was in a relationship that I'm quite ashamed of when I look back, and I've asked for forgiveness from Jesus about, because my own part in that relationship, I'm not proud of how I acted at all, and I shouldn't have been with that person, and you know, it was all a bit of a toxic nightmare really, and I was in that relationship for 4 years. But what that actually did in terms of spirituality, because at the time I felt like, on the one hand I was still describing myself as a spiritual person, but I was behaving in a way that I was quite ashamed of. So I thought, well, then there's this schism, you know, and I couldn't rectify that. And I thought, well, I'm, on the one hand, yeah, presenting myself as a particular person, but that isn't actually what I'm acting like at the moment. I'm not being true to myself. I'm not, you know, there's got to be, something's got to give, that something has got to be sorted before I can continue my spiritual path. And I mean, knowing what I know now, which isn't much still about Jesus, but I do know that if you've got any problems, you can take them to him and he'll help you rectify them. You know, you don't have to go to him perfect, having sorted everything out. That isn't the point. You know, you can go to him a bit broken and a bit lost. But I didn't think of that at the time, because I was still all a bit new agey, all a bit spiritual, etc, etc. You know, so I sought answers by going to shamanic healings or Reiki or things like this. And at the same time, my mum was getting ill. She got very ill indeed. She had Alzheimer's and dementia, and that was a journey. And it was a difficult journey. It was a difficult 6 years. And I think that affected my psyche a lot. I think that's why I was, well, I wouldn't say why, I was in this relationship. Completely. Because I was also a complete idiot. But I'd say that probably contributed to my staying and you know, because that was a new low point, that relationship. And so things were going on that were very difficult indeed. And I found myself unable to meditate and unable to, you know, seek solace in the things that I once really felt like they were holding me. And that was when I did the ayahuasca retreat. That was the second sort of plant medicine retreat that I did. And I went along and I had a bit of a dose, and I felt as though I was nearly getting dragged under, as it were, into this other state, into this other place. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. So I woke up and I felt, you know, I think I'd been really placing a lot of hope on that retreat for healing my fractured psyche, if you will. You know, at the time I was all over the place and I was a bit shot to pieces and I wasn't very strong, and I was looking for answers and I was looking for help, and it didn't do it. And then the next morning, one of the guys there decided that another thing that we could do was have DMT, like literally blown up our noses, and that, you know, gives you a short DMT hit. And it seemed like a good idea to try that. But actually that made me feel quite jolted and quite ragged and quite uncomfortable, and I didn't experience anything good from that, and I went home with this sort of even more disjointed, uncomfortable feelings, having really hoped for this sort of spiritual high and this spiritual solace, and it just wasn't there. And that sort of just continued, really. I still had this solace and this faith in what had happened on this other retreat, but I didn't have any other experiences to match that at the time. And then luckily I had split with that partner, not through my own not through being quite sassy and cool and going, you know what, I'm out of here. No, that didn't happen. He left, which was great. But yeah, still there was this problem, and I was still unable to meditate, and I still wanted the solace, and I still wanted to call myself spiritual. But I gradually stopped going to retreats and various things because I just couldn't seem to connect anymore. And it troubled me. And at the same time, I stumbled across a YouTube video where this lady said that she had taken part or helped a healer who practiced a sort of remote healing type of thing, but a really serious, type of healing where literally she was with this man who was having a sort of remote operation performed on him, as it were. And, she was just aware that there was this power there, that this was working on this guy. But her thought was very much, well, where is this power coming from? It isn't of God. And she had her own experiences anyway, which led her to Jesus. And that really troubled me, and it really shook me up, because up until that point, I thought everything is of God. Everything is, all paths lead to God, pretty much, apart from really dodgy ones, say Satanism. Thought everything else, it's probably fine, in my complete naivety. And I used to live in a house share, which was great, because I lived with a Christian, a Jehovah's Witness, and an atheist. We all lived together, and almost sounds like there should be a punchline, there should be a joke coming after that, but we all got on really well. But occasionally we would have spiritual-ish discussions. I was a sort of fluffy hippie, trying to go, it's all fine, it's all fine, we're all going to the same place, it's all good, I'm reincarnating and la la la. And the Jehovah's Witness was like, no, I don't know who your God is, but it's not my God. And again, that just slightly troubled me, the idea that there could be any sort of segregation. And we used to have some interesting conversations. But other than that, it wasn't until this video, this lady in it, looking fiercely into the camera, saying, look, I don't know what this energy was, but it's not good, it's not of God. I was like, wow. But it planted a seed. It planted a seed with me. Because that troubled me for a while. It really troubled me. The idea that she had come from the New Age, gone to Jesus, decided that this healing wasn't good. And for one reason or another, I started exploring videos about Jesus. And what I discovered really surprised me, because there were so many of them. New Age to Jesus, so many. And it was around that time as well that one well-known lady who was a bit of a spiritual leader, Doreen Virtue, bit of a New Age leader, also decided she was exiting the New Age completely to go towards Christianity. And again, that had an impact. I'd done one of her courses. I'd actually gone on one of her angel healing courses, and I'd bought loads of her angel cards as well. And there she was, saying she was making this exit, and I was like, wow. And I think it did shake up a lot of fans, and I even made a short video about it as well, just because I was trying to reconcile this. I think a few people felt betrayed, But I think the reason anyone would feel betrayed is because sometimes where we see ourselves in life is also sort of measured with our peers, where they are. You know, we know where we are in a particular group of people. And there's comfort in that, isn't there? You know, you don't have to examine yourself or where you are. If, you know where everyone is, and you know where you are, and and you don't have to think any further than that. But if one of your group, one of your peers suddenly does something different, it can cause you to challenge your own behaviour. It's a little bit like, you know, if you're all going out drinking a lot, you've got your little drinking buddies. Every now and again you go to the pub together, and then one of them goes, you know what, I'm teetotal now, because I was drinking too much. And then that can make you look at your own behaviour. I think it's one reason why very often in a group of people, if that happens, everybody sets upon them and goes, no, you must have a drink, you must have a drink, because it makes them more comfy, you know, about themselves. They don't want to have to examine their own behaviour at all. They're in their comfort zone having fun. I think it's a similar thing. Anyway, so yeah, that happened. And wow, you know, that again challenged my perceptions a fair bit. And again, I started watching videos. I thought, okay, you know, people are seeing Jesus, people are hearing Jesus. This is a personal relationship. But it also sort of scared me a little bit. I was like, he can just pluck people out at will and change their minds completely. And because I still saw Christianity as a bit of a threat, you know, I felt like it was this regressive religion rather than progressive. I felt like, no, Doreen, you were in the right place before, you know. Because it felt like in spirituality, people find the answers to empower themselves, and it felt like in religion, people surrender, which they do, to a greater being, and then he guides them. So I felt like, how is there personal growth there? You know, I didn't understand. And I had all these other barriers about Christianity, loads of barriers, but I started watching videos. And I thought, you know, I was on a search for the truth, and I thought I'd found the truth with this oneness, and then here's something else, absolutely laying sole claim to the truth. And I sort of stopped searching and looking at other religions, because other religions didn't have that link to Jesus or God, those personal messages or visions or dreams or, you know, any communication. So I sort of dropped it. Thought, okay, fine. I'm looking at Jesus and Christianity as being a huge possibility here. Still got loads of barriers. And as a way through trying to work through those barriers, I wasn't really trying to work through these barriers. What I wanted to try to do was have Christianity come meet me where I was, in my comfort zone. So I said to one of my friends, I'm trying to marry Christianity with spirituality. And I looked at Gnosticism, of course, because the mystical texts and things like this seem to insinuate a whole different ballgame than the Bible, and the books missing from the Bible, or the books left out, all these additional books. And I thought, well, these must provide the answer. But I still wasn't happy spiritually. I still couldn't meditate. Not really. And I tried a lot. And I used to find it relatively easy. You know, I had times when I didn't. I'd gone on a 2-week Vipassana meditation as well. And for the first couple of days, I'd been completely unable to meditate, and then suddenly fell into it, you know. But no, last few years, completely unable to meditate. So all of this was going on, and I still wanted a path. I thought, I want a path to follow, and I could start to see the flaws in the New Age as well. I could start to see how the New Age actually was a lot of promises that never really got fulfilled. A lot of the channelings were a bit like used car salesmen. I'm going to channel all these wonderful sounding things that are just out of reach, you know. They will come, it's just over there, it's just over there, it's just over there. And also, someone posted something about, oh goodness, I was in a group on Facebook, a spiritual group, and this person kept popping up who was a member of the Church of Satan, which was quite scary to me. I knew nothing about it at all, and he kept saying, hey, my church is fine, it's really cool, you know, da 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 da. So anyway, I had to read about it to understand it a bit more. And in reading about it, I discovered it's what I feel to be a very selfish, self-centered, narcissist dream. And suddenly I could see parallels between that and the New Age. And in my view, I'm pretty sure that behind the scenes there's a much darker version of Satanism as well. Because the idea that that's completely uncoupled from the name Satan, I'm like, I can't buy that at all. So anyway, that also opened my eyes a little bit to the New Age. I mean, I'd already felt that some of the New Age teachings about manifestation, for example, were just very me oriented stuff, you know. Put up a vision board, you can then envision any future that you'd like. You know, you want to go on a great holiday, no problem, just put it on a vision board, imagine you've already got it, job done. And I never really got into any of that because I thought, no, that's not where I want to go. And I just thought, you know, I started to see more and more, I guess, problems within it, and I started to get a bit more impatient with some of these internet memes that are fluffy and lovely, but ultimately felt empty. You know, all this lovely, fluffy, nebulous, promising stuff with no substance. So, and I was still, at this point, still watching videos after videos. All these New Age videos, New Age conversion videos, New Age to Jesus. And they were wonderful. I've seen some wonderful videos and I'm truly grateful to have seen them. You know. And I think it's really helped change my mind. I really do. I think God and Jesus have done that. I think they're helping me to change my mind. Because when I look at where I was and how I felt about Christianity, and where I, you know, when I look at where I am now, I think, well, for me to have got to this point is really cool. And I found myself wanting to get baptised, and so I've contacted the local church and I'm going to have a chat to them about the process and what happens there. And that feels right. And the minute that decision came to me, because I think it sort of bubbled up from within, you know, I felt really at peace with that decision. I felt, yeah, this is lovely, and I felt joyful and at peace, and it was nice. So that's where I'm at the moment. It's really the beginning of Christianity. I'm not even baptised yet. I've got a lot to learn. Need to read the Bible. I've just started having a little read. But what's lovely is I just feel like there's beauty and truth, and all of that is wonderful, and I feel like that's very much in Christianity. And there was a video I saw this guy did, a really nice video. I can't remember his name, sadly. He too was a New Age coming to Christianity. There's a lot of them out there. And he just said how the rabbit holes were so, you know, never ending, so enticing, and there was no solid foundation. But when he came to Christianity, there was this solid foundation. And I feel very much like that. I feel like, yeah, you can go off into all these bubbles, you can meditate and find bliss, you can go off on some sort of gong bath retreat, you can go off and do all these separate things. And you can have a vague set of principles to guide you through. But that isn't enough for me. I wanted a teacher and I wanted a guide. And I wanted to be able to sort of give myself to a religion and, the right one as well. Another person that I came across on my spiritual travels was Amma, and Amma is a guru, and I came across her in a weird way. I went to Glastonbury. I had a reading from this lady. I felt really drawn to go to Glastonbury. Went to Glastonbury, had a reading, and this lady just said, "Wow, go and see Amma." Weird. And I did, purely because she was in London. I wasn't going to fly to India necessarily to go and see her, but she was in London, so I went. And she does this thing, or she usually does this thing when there's no pandemic, and one of the, it's sort of 3-night stay in London. Last sort of night is an overnighter, and you just stay, you sleep on chairs or something. And I did that, and I could really feel her energy. It felt very, very powerful, and it felt like a real draw, and people around her, it was like cats with catnip. There was a lot of love for her. And had she been based in London, I'd have probably found myself getting quite involved in all that. So it's probably a blessing that she wasn't. But certainly there is so much supernatural stuff in the New Age, and that leads me to the thing that I'd forgotten what I was going to talk about a little while ago with Facebook, when I put this little post up on Facebook, and I said, okay, just turning towards Jesus. And one guy said in his response, he said, "I'm really sorry that you can't see the magic within spirituality." And I just replied to say, don't be sorry. I don't want anyone's pity. This is a good decision for me. All I need is for you to just respect this decision. And I just did a few little lines about where I've been, and to try to describe that, yes, thank you, I've had the bliss and the magic, and I've experienced some of this, and I've experienced healing, and all sorts of things, which I'd attribute that healing to this spiritual experience that I'd had. Of course, that couldn't be proven or anything like that, but to me, it seemed proof, and I absolutely think there's a lot of power and supernatural occurrences within the New Age and spirituality generally, and a lot of bliss, power, magic, whatever you want to call it. The question is, where does it come from? From what source? Because now I'm turning towards Jesus, I'm finding that that's a great big question mark. I can't say with any certainty that, where it's from, but I'm pretty sure it's not that good necessarily. Because I think, there is deception, and I think the deception is as old as creation itself. You look back, and the story of how Satan and fallen angels were chucked down to earth, and they're still here, and who's orchestrating all of this bliss and all of this lovely stuff? Well, it's a question, and for me, it's been a bit of an eye-opener, and this is just the beginning. I already feel like, whoa, what I used to think of is bliss, and I really resented not being able to meditate again and things like this, and I'm now thinking that was a blessing, actually, because the way I'm feeling at the moment, it's an entirely different thing, and I started to feel as well, what did I want from a religion? What did what did the New Age offer, and what did I want? And I started to think, well, even in spirituality, it's very easy to go adrift. You know, there might be some rock solid teachers out there, but there's a heck of a lot of teachers who aren't. And the whole I am movement as well, this whole I am a sovereign being, I am empowered, I am whatever, you know. But really, it's, the bottom line is kind of that you are the God. You are the creator of your own destiny completely. You can shape reality how you want, kind of thing, is the bottom line. Not everybody who is a bit spiritual or a little bit in the new age necessarily believes that, but that's the bottom line of it. You know, there's a hell of a lot of traps in it. There's a hell of a lot of holes in it. It's very enticing because of all these wonderful, fluffy spiritual experiences that you can have. But is that necessarily of God, and is that necessarily what you want? To just be flying off the planet all over the place? Or do you want a steady path, you know, with something else? And I was thinking as well that I wanted something with humbleness, and I thought that's not really there in the, you know, in the new age. And so all of this Gnosticism and everything else that I was looking at, all I was trying to do was really have Christianity come meet me where I was. And what I need to do, what I realise I need to do, is I need to meet Christianity where it is. I need to meet Jesus on his terms, not mine. And that's going to be a work in progress, right? It's not, I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's starting, but there, you know, I'm sure there's going to be areas of resistance that I'm going to need to work through. But at least I have that little sliver of recognition. So, and it felt good when I, like I said, it sort of bubbled up from within, this idea of getting baptised, and I really wanted it, and I still really do. And so we'll just see what happens. It feels like the right path, it feels like the only path, it feels like it's a bit of an eye-opener as well, because if you think of so much deception on the level that you can be deceived in the new age and think, wow, this is of God, this is God, this is God over here, you know, then you're starting to look at something a hell of a lot bigger than perhaps you could otherwise conceive. So for me, yeah, I'm starting to think, wow, you know, the bad versus good, the sort of, you know, whatever war is going on is potentially huge, much, much bigger than I thought. And it's, yeah, a bit of an eye-opener. So that's kind of where I am at, and just trying to get used to praying more and talking more, and, you know, bringing my worries and concerns to Jesus. And at the same time, I was really scared when I first sort of uttered the words and talked to him and prayed. I was really quite scared, because I've heard so many stories on YouTube, you know, of what can happen. People suddenly have visions and they might get dangled over hell, and I thought, oh my God, I don't think my heart could take that. So I'm like, God, please go a bit gentle on me, Jesus, because, you know, it's you just don't know what's going to happen. You know, you don't know what's going to happen. But at the same time, there is a level of faith as well that's needed, and I guess I just feel ready to start that journey, or I think I do, I hope I do. You know, I feel ready, and I'm thinking, yeah, whatever that was that I was involved in for the last 15 years, it was lovely and fluffy, and at times it felt great. But in a way, it's a big distraction bubble, because it gives you what you think you need, all of this lovely, fluffy comfort. But is it even real? You know? And who wants to be wrapped in a fluffy comfort blanket of something that isn't real? You want something of substance. You want to feel that your feet are firmly planted on the ground, and that you're being directed in a way that will help you grow, that will help you do what you need to do to serve God. And yeah, there's some preconceptions, there's some notions that I'm going to have to get used to put aside, you know. I remember even thinking, because at one point I've had various health issues and things like this, and at one point I remember thinking, maybe I'll just get one more shamanic healing and then go to Christianity. And no. Because obviously God can heal, and you know, I can't keep thinking like that. That's not going to help anybody. It's a question of bringing whatever issues I've got to God and asking for help there, if it's meant to be healed, if I'm, you know. So it's learning to do things a very, very different way as well. Because yeah, for years, if there was a problem health-wise, you know, unless my arm was actually hanging off or I was bleeding profusely, in which case I'd obviously go to accident and emergency and my local hospital, you know. But if it was something else, if I'd been diagnosed with something, especially something, because when I had thyroid issues, this is still an area where the medical establishment doesn't have many answers. You know, the answers they have is to whip it out or radiate it with with radioactive iodine, both of which make it go underactive, and then you have a whole host of other problems. So I thought, well, I don't fancy those options, you know. If I could have taken a pill that would have healed it, I would have done that. But that option wasn't there, it wasn't available. So I thought, well, let's try this, let's try something else. Let's go off on this healing journey, or that healing journey. And certainly it healed twice. And as I say, I think it healed because of these healing modalities I experienced. But where does that come from? Where does all that come from? You know, all that energy, I don't know. And I'm asking Jesus for forgiveness as well for various things that I've done in my life. I mean, I often think I've lived my life so badly, you know. I've made so many mistakes, and consistent mistakes, and make the same mistake all over again, you know. Especially with relationships. With relationships, I always found someone who was completely incompatible and probably didn't treat me very well. Went off and did it again in the next relationship. It was a real pattern. And I'm lucky now that I'm not with that person and I'm with someone else who doesn't do that at all. This is a good person, which is nice. So, but that was luck, you know. That wasn't my being particularly clever. So I know I need help, and I know I need guidance in my life. Various jobs have fallen apart as well, and I've suffered over the last sort of 6 years or so with anxiety and things like that as well. My mama, who'd been ill, she passed away late 2018, and so did my dad. He passed a month before my mum, and obviously that was, you know, that rocks your world a bit, doesn't it? I'm so grateful that they didn't have to go through this last year of the pandemic, this last sort of 9-10 months, because with mum being in a care home as well, the worry for both of them, and the upset for mum at not being able to see dad and not being able to understand why, and the upset for dad and not being able to see mum would have been horrendous. So I'm grateful they didn't get to be there for that, but I miss them, of course I do. And I think it's just nice to have that guidance as well with your family. You know, no one knows you like your family. So when you lose your parents, that's a big deal. But I do feel that there is beauty and love and something real in Jesus. And that feels really important. That feels really important to just follow that, find that, follow that, and keep going. And that's kind of where my heart is at. My heart is at the place of just yes. You know, that's how my heart feels about this. And even a few weeks ago, I would have still been arguing with myself and still putting up the odd barriers and things like this. But all of the barriers I had, all of the, you know, it all just led round and round in big circles. It got me nowhere. You know, you can have all the sort of arguments in your mind, but they won't lead you where you need to go. I think the answer is simply in asking Jesus for help. You won't be able to solve these yourself. You know, and I'm starting to understand that a bit as well. And I'm grateful. I'm really grateful that barriers have come down, that I'm starting to view things the way I am. I think that's because of God, because of Jesus. That's not because of me. You know, I simply wouldn't have got here by myself at all. So yeah, and we'll just see where we go. Just see where I go. Hopefully baptism will be next. I can talk to our local sort of reverend and at the Baptist church, and I think at the moment I just feel like I want to get baptised anywhere and then try and work out what church perhaps suits more, because we've got 3 different ones in our local area. Catholic, Baptist, and just sort of normal, don't know really what you call it, traditional, you know, where you can go and all the hymns are traditional and things like that, which I quite like. You know, I like the Baptist church because that's all about a relationship with Jesus, which I'm trying to cultivate. So I love that, but I find their happy clappy sort of music a bit weird because it's got no, because it's all new to me. It's not, you know, we grew up with hymns, even though I wasn't baptised as a kid. My parents wanted me to make my own mind up, but you grow up with this sense of knowing hymns, you know, and they mean something. They have that meaning very often, and these happy clappy songs, they just don't. But who knows? I'll give it a go anyway. And I just thought, yeah, in the first instance, it just feels really important I get baptised. I just really want to get baptised, and then see how things go from there. Yeah. So that's my story to start with. It's not, you know, I just wanted to add my voice, I guess, because I'd seen so many videos too, of other people, and these videos helped me along my journey. So I guess I just wanted to get my voice out there as well. And because also I put out a couple of videos back in 2013 or 2012 or whenever it was, about my spiritual experiences, and you know, I've now taken those down from YouTube, because I thought I don't know what I'm leading people to anymore, and there's, you know, there's no need. So yeah, beginner's journey, beginner's tiny beginning, but it makes my heart happy. So, you know, I don't know if this video will help anybody else necessarily. I don't think it can, but I think it's just really nice to be on the other side, looking at the New Age from the other side. And I think people who are in the New Age will never understand. They'll feel betrayed by their fellow New Agers, you know, or feel like, oh my God, you're going the wrong way, you're going backwards. But it no longer feels like that at all. It feels like I'm going forwards towards something different, which I feel is right. you know. So anyway, that's me, 50-minute video. I don't know if I'll post this video, it's so long. It's so long. But yeah, that's just my beginnings anyway. So if you've stayed with me through the end, thanks. If you want to drop a comment below, that'd be nice. So long as it's a nice one, that'd be really good. And yeah, I hope you're all doing well. And yeah, just lots and lots of love for anybody else struggling. And you know, if you're struggling and this is yet another video of the New Age to Spirit, and you're looking at it, New Age to Christianity, and you're thinking, oh my God, it's 50 minutes long. But if you've stuck with it and you're here and you're still questioning, I'd say I have some idea what it's like to be asking endless questions and jumping down various rabbit holes. I mean, good Lord, the other rabbit hole I had was the UFO phenomena. I was watching video after video of those. So if I wasn't watching Jesus videos, I was watching UFO videos. It's really strange, you know. My other half phoned me up one day, what are you doing? I said, well, I've just watched a video about strange beings from another world, and I'm just going to go and watch a, you know, video about Jesus. Seems like, sounds about right. But again, that will lead you to all sorts of questions about the universe and maybe a multiverse and all sorts of things. And you can find yourself, like I say, going around in circles. It's rabbit holes and endless rabbit holes. And there will never be definitive answers there. But you'll never find peace in your heart either. You will just get annoyed with yourself, continually going round in loops. So I'd say if you're watching this, if you've made it this far, just ask Jesus into your heart and ask him to show you the truth, and ask him to work a bit of magic on you. Ask him to work a bit of magic, but ask him to, you know, help you see and help you to understand the truth. And I don't think you can go wrong with that answer. And I think, you know, for me it's taken years, and it was a chance video that planted that tiny seed, that lady fiercely looking around going, that wasn't of God, that healing, that did it for me, that started me down a different road. And looking back, I'm really grateful that it did. And I don't think anything happens by chance. So I think that was, you know, that was really cool. But if you can, just ask Jesus, you know. It'll save you all the rabbit holes and all the headaches. So yeah, that's me. I will go now. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.